Capturing leads on your website is great, but how do you handle leads the smart way? Well, in this episode, I'll show you how to import leads from an Elementor Pro form into a conversion funnel within
Perfex CRM.
Hello, I'm your host Casino. I'm a digital alchemist, and today I'm going to show you how to send new leads details from an Elementor Pro form into a smart conversion funnel within Perfex CRM. And if you're not familiar with Perfex CRM, I've already made a thorough video about why I think this is one of the best CRM systems out there when you're starting out. Of course, you will find a link to that video in the description of this episode. And if you don't know what a CRM is, well, it stands for Customer Relationships Management, and basically it's a powerful tool to organize your business and manage your leads the smart way. Okay, so first let's have a look at what we're going to build. We're on our page and I've created an Elementor Pro form. And the idea here is that once you fill in the form and click on send, when we move to Perfex CRM and we go to the leads, as you can see here, we move into a Kanban view and the different leads just land straight within our conversion funnel. So as you can see here, I got the name, I got the email address, I got the phone number, the company, and all the different details that you can see here in the form. So if we look at the funnel here, it's a bit simple. We only have new and customer, and actually we're going to create a little more steps within the funnel so that you can see how powerful Perfex CRM is, and especially the combo of Elementor and Perfex, or we could say WordPress and Perfex, because you can actually use this with Contact Form 7 plugin, with most plugins that can output HTML, but if you know me, I like to use Elementor Pro these days. I really like this tool. It really helps me in my business, so I hope it can help you too. And that's why in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the Perfex plus Elementor Pro forms combo. Okay, with that out of the way, the first thing to do is to create a dedicated email address. And that is because all the data that will be sent through the form will land on that dedicated email address. And basically the server is going to retrieve all the emails from that email address and it's going to input all the data within Perfex CRM. So you don't want to use a regular email address because otherwise the system is going to go crazy receiving a lot of emails and trying to parse the content that may not be from that form. It may be a regular email from someone you know. So you really want to create an email address, and you don't want to create an email address like contact at your domain, because you might get spammed, and then if you get spammed, the same thing is going to happen. The system is going to try to parse the information from those emails. So you may want to create a complex email that you're only going to use to get the details within Perfex CRM anyway. So you won't really be using that email with humans, so you don't care if it's complex or not. So if you have your own domain, then you can most likely you can create as many email addresses as you wish. Now, if you don't, or if you limited in the number of email addresses, then you may want to create a free email address with free service providers. But whatever you do, this is the first step. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to set up cron tasks. Now, before we move on to the technical side, let's first define what a cron task is. So Wikipedia tells us that the software utility cron is a time-based job scheduler in Unix-like computer operating systems. People who set and maintain software environments use cron to schedule jobs, commands, or shell scripts to run periodically at fixed times, dates, or intervals. So basically the only portion you need to remember here is that we're going to use cron task to run periodically at fixed times, dates, or intervals, because what we want is to tell the server, okay, go and check if there's a new form that came to this email address. And if it does, use the data, parse it, and integrate that data into our CRM. Now, you don't want to do that each and every second because it's going to overload the server. So most servers, they will have a minimum interval of 10 minutes for cron jobs. And that's the case on the web host I'm using. Okay, so let's go back to Perfex CRM, and then once you're there, click on Setup, Settings, and then here in the navigation, click on Cron Job. Okay, and here you will see a command, which is the cron command, that you will need to copy and paste within your web host panel. I'm using cPanel, so we're going to move there in a second. Now, obviously, this is not the URL I'm using, but for obvious reasons, I'm not going to share that. But basically, this is the command you're going to copy. So you're going to copy all of that, do a Command C, or if you're on a Mac, or Control C if you're on a computer, Windows computer, or Linux. And then you're just going to paste that command within cPanel if you're using cPanel. So I don't know which web host and which system you're using, but I'm just going to share with you what I'm using, which is cPanel, which a lot of you would be using. And even if you're not using cPanel, the principle is the same. So let's move on to cPanel. Okay, so this is the cPanel I'm using. Well, first of all, except from the title that says add a new cron task, the rest is not in English, so my apologies, but it's really the same interface, so you can follow along by just looking at your screen, and you don't need to do much anyway. I'm just going to show you. So the first thing is to actually look at the common settings and select each and every minute. So basically, you're going to see a star in each and every different field. And even though we set it like that, as I said, it's only going to check the, it's only going to perform the task every 10 minutes because that's how the server is configured. It may be different depending on the server that you're using, but most likely it will be minimum 10 minutes. But anyways, you need to select the, that setting, the first one, each and every minute. And then in the command field, we're just going to paste the command that we've just copied from Perfex CRM within the cron task tab. Okay, once you're happy with that, just click on add a new cron task, and that's about it. And basically, once you've done that, every 10 minutes, Perfex is going to check with the server if there's a new email that landed in that dedicated email that you created. And if it does, it's going to try to parse the content of that email. Well, it may sound a little bit complicated now, but you see how easy it is once we're in demo mode. So now let's move back to Perfex CRM. So back in Perfex CRM, let's go back and have a look at the leads. As you can see here, we're in a Kanban view. Well, most likely when you first click on leads, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the list view. Now, I much prefer using the Kanban view. Now it depends on the use, but most of the time I use the Kanban. So just click on switch on Kanban, and here you see we have our funnel with new and customer, but that's a bit narrow as a conversion funnel. So the first thing we're going to do is go to setup, then leads. And first of all, let's change the sources. So we already have Facebook and Google by default, and we're just going to add a new one. We're going to call it websites form. Click on save. Okay, so now we have a new source name. Now the next thing we want to do is click on statuses. And as you can see, we have a couple, we have customer and we have new, as we've just seen in the Kanban view. So first, let's have a look at the customer. So we have the name, we can pick a color, and we can pick the order. So 1000 would be the last item currently. And if we open the new, the order number is 2, so it would be the first item in the conversion funnel. So let's add a few more. So we're going to add contacted and give it a different color. Order 3, it's fine. Then we want to add proposal sent. So we're going to add another color, number 4, it's fine. Okay, and we want to add one more. So once again, click on new lead status, and we want to add a lost lead section in the funnel. We're going to give it a red color, well, reddish. Okay. Anyway, let's pick that color, and we want to give it an order of 1001 because we want it to appear after the customer section in the funnel. Okay, so now let's go back to our leads. Okay, and as you can see here, we now have a complete funnel with new leads, contacted, proposal sent, customer, and lost lead. This is really powerful because Whether you're working alone or with a team, it's very easy to visually see where the leads are in the funnel, for example. So let's say that you've lost Phoenix Johnson, then well, first of all, you know you've lost it. But then, for example, if you need to comply with GDPR, once you treated the data, it's very easy to just delete all the leads that are in the lost lead section of your conversion funnel. It's also good if you want to hold statistics or you want to know what went wrong, especially if you're working with a team. Someone loses the lead. Once you click on the lead, you can leave notes. Leave notes like client was not happy about this, or maybe they stopped the project, but they say that they might come back to us later, but whatever. You can add notes, and basically when you're using a CRM, it only works if you leave info and data. But also if you're dealing with European Union citizens or residents, you want to make sure you comply with GDPR. And actually there is a GDPR section here within Perfex. So let me show you quickly. If you go to setup, GDPR, you can enable GDPR, and then you have a bunch of different settings to comply with the GDPR laws. So once again, we're not going to dive deep with GDPR and Perfex today, but I just wanted you to know that there is the option to comply with the GDPR law. So make sure that you do that if you're dealing with EU citizens or residents. So with that out of the way, let's go back. So within settings, let's go back into leads. We've already covered the sources and statuses. And now let's take a look at email integration, because that's what we're interested in today. So within email integration, make sure you take the option as active. Then you need to fill in the information with your own details. So the IMAP server, your email address that you created. Once again, it should be a dedicated email address just for that. So that email address, the password of that email address, and then most of the other settings, you can just leave it like that. If you ever need help, the Perfex documentation is really well done. So you can go and have a look at each and every option, and I will link that in the companion blog post. Now, some of the settings here that we want to change or may not want to change is the default status. By default, when you've just installed Perfex CRM, you will only have the customer status. Now we've added a few ones, so I just picked the new status because we want the lead to appear in the first section in our funnel. Then the default source, I'm going to select website form because this is what we're going to learn today. And then I created my account as John Smith. So I'm responsible for the new lead because I'm the only person in the system. But just imagine that you have a team. You can decide who's the first person that should get the notification emails for the leads. Now, you can ask to be notified when the lead is imported, and I suggest you leave that option on. And you can notify if the lead sent email multiple times. You can also restrict this to staff members with roles, specific staff members, or the responsible person, like we've seen here. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you can click on the test IMAP connection to test that all the settings are okay, and then you can save. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to input my details here, but you get the idea. And if you don't know where to get those details, what basically how it works with my web host, and as you've seen, I'm using cPanel. When I create a new email address, then I get all the details. I get all that data, the IMAP server, and for the rest, it's the password that I've chosen and the email address. So pretty easy. And if you really don't know where to find that data, then just send an email to the support team of your web hosts. Make a screenshot of this page and just ask them, can you please provide the data so I can fill in that form? Okay, so now let's move on to the next step. Okay, so for the next step, we are within the WordPress admin, and the first thing you want to do is to create a page. and a form. And in our case, for this tutorial, I decided to use Elementor Pro to create our form, and I've already created the page so we can focus on the tutorial itself. So in my case, I'm just going to go to my pages, click on Edit with Elementor. And once I'm inside Elementor, as you can see, I've already created my form, but you can replicate it. So it's very simple. I get the name, the company, the email, the phone number, the message, and then I've also added an acceptance box. So if we look here, it's the acceptance box for GDPR. And basically, if you're not dealing with EU citizens or EU residents, then you don't really care about that. But if you ever need to deal with the EU for your business or for your website, then you need to make sure you comply with GDPR. Now, once again, I'm not going to go into the details, but here I've just added an acceptance box. And this way, I'm sure that people know how I'm going to use their data. Actually, I could be a little more precise here, but once again, I'm just trying to show you, the basics. So once they tick on the acceptance box, and actually I've made it a requirement. So if they don't agree, they cannot send the form, because I cannot treat the form from a lead if they don't allow me to receive the data. Makes sense, right? But still, GDPR is a reality, and this is how we comply with it. So once they tick on it, the form we go through, and I will get all the details from them so I can treat it. Okay, so I've also put a link to GDPR privacy settings, because you should have everything explained in plain English, and make sure that people can unsubscribe from anything they're subscribed to, and that they know at any time how they can deal with their data. Okay, so enough about GDPR. But yeah, basically the idea is once we send the form, it should go to Perfex. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need to give custom IDs to match the fields that are within Perfex. Now, let's go to that article from the Perfex documentation. And once again, I will link to that page within the companion blog post of this video. Now, these are the available fields within Perfex. You get all the names here, and we're just going to copy and paste the field names that we want to use. Now, a little word about custom fields. As you can see here, you can also create custom fields, but I'm not going to cover that today because we're already covering a lot of ground. And if you grasp the first concept, then it's very well explained in this article, and it's pretty easy once you've understood. Basically here, we're just going to copy the field name and paste it within Elementor. And when you create a custom field within Perfex, first of all, you're going to create a new custom field, give it a name, and then you're just going to copy that name and do exactly what we're about to do in a few seconds. So let's copy the first name. So it's field name. So I'm just going to copy with Command C on a Mac or Control C on a computer, on a Windows or a Linux. Okay. So next I want to open the field that I wanna match. And then I'm going to click on the Advanced tab. And once again, this is the form creator from Elementor Pro. So once I'm in the Advanced tab, you can see here Custom ID, and I'm just going to paste the name field that I've just copied. And as you can see, once I've pasted the name, the short code has been updated. Okay. So we want to do the same thing for all the other items. So the second is company. So let me go back and let's match that with this one. So company. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. Now email, advanced. So let's copy that. Then we have our phone number. Okay. Then we have our message, and actually for the message, you won't see a field message here. So it's actually field description. Okay, so let's copy that. And the last one is the acceptance. We're not going to send that to Perfex for the time being. Okay. So once we've done that, we need to make sure that in the actions after submit, we have email. So that's great. And then we need to add the admin email address. So I'm going to use the one that I created for this tutorial. Then we have the new message from lab. We have all fields. So if we keep it like this, it's going to send all fields to Perfex. But that's not going to work, and I'm going to show you how and why. Then in the from email, okay, so here by default, it would select the first email field, and it's actually picking it from the form fields here. So if I look at the field name here, that's what went into, that's what went into the from email. Okay, so that makes sense. Then the from name, by default, I think it was empty, but basically I changed it to website hire me page. So this is the name that will appear if I want to check the mailbox and I see all the different emails. I want to make sure that these are always the same title when it comes from that form. And then in the BCC, and that's the most important part, you need to copy the dedicated email address. So it's different from that one. The first one here, it's actually an email address that I created, let's say for the admin email address. And I don't want to confuse you. But the email address I talked about earlier, the one that will only be used to transfer the data from that form to Perfex, this is where you should paste it. So mine was, it looks a lot like the previous one, but it's this one. So that's the one I've created, but of course yours will be different. So make sure, once again, I really want to stress that, make sure you copy and paste the email address that you've created solely for Perfex. Okay, and once you're happy with it, you can click on update. Now, there's something I want to show you, because for the time being, in the message fields, by default, it says all fields. And this is what Elementor tells us about it. By default, all form fields are sent via shortcode. And if you want to customize field, you can just copy the shortcodes from the different fields, and then you can have a different output. Now, let's go back to Perfex. And if I look at the conversion funnel, if you look at this entry, this is actually one that I've used with the all field settings that we've just seen. And if I open it, this is what I see. The only thing that that was correct was the email address that was sent with that form. But for the rest, nothing went through, and even some of the data, like the name, was completely wrong. And that's because Perfex wants you to actually match the field names that is got into its system, and it makes sense. Well, if it doesn't now, it will in a few moments. So let's go back to WordPress, and now we actually want to change this. So there's a little bit of copy and pasting that you will need to do, and I will provide the code in the companion blog post. And basically what we want to do is to really take each and every field with its field name, and we're going to paste it here. Now, let me make this a little bit taller, a little bit wider, and I'm just going to copy the code that I'm using. So first of all, it's just text, so name, column, and then I'm going to use some basic HTML and a shortcode. So div ID, then I put the name of the field. So here it's field name. Then add the shortcode, then I close my div. And basically I'm going to repeat that for all the different fields. And once again, in the companion blog post, I will put an example. Then all you need to do is just copy and paste, and of course make sure that you change the field names, because you may be using different fields in your forms. Now, if you're using the same one, you can just really copy and recreate what you see here if you want to test it out and make sure that it works. Okay, so once I've done that, all that's left to do for me is just to click on updates. Okay, and now let's go back and we're going to actually open our page and then we can test it. And as I've said before, the minimum time frame for the cron job to run is 10 minutes. Now you can force it within Perfex, and I'm going to show you where. But first of all, let's fill in our form. Okay, so here we are on the front end of our website. So let's fill in the form from Janet Doe, from Doe Inc. So it's going to be Janet Doe at whatever. I don't know, it may go as spam actually. So let me do that. Let me add a fake phone number and a message. Hey, I would like to know more about your services. Now, if I click on send, it's not going to work because, as I've mentioned earlier, I need to agree with the GDPR terms. So let me agree. Let me send that. And okay, the form was sent successfully, and I've already taken that. So the form was sent successfully. So now let's go back into Perfex CRM. Okay, once you're back in your dashboard, you want to click on Setup, Settings. And then here in the navigation, you want to click on cron job. Okay, so once you're in cron job, as you can see here, just below the cron command, you can click on run cron manually. So let me do that. Okay, that's done. And basically what we're trying to do is to force the cron manually. Now it may or may not work right away, depending on when the last one was on the server. So let's go back to leads. Okay, and as you can see, there's nothing new. So more than likely, we need to wait a few minutes. So I'm going to pause this video and come back in a maximum of 10 minutes. But for you, it's just going to be a split second. Okay, so we're back within Perfex CRM. So now let's refresh our page. And as you can see, it worked perfectly. So let's open Janet Doe. And we have the name, we have the email address, the phone number, the company, and actually we could have added the address, city, state, country, and zip codes, but we just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to show you the basic principle. So as you can see, this is really, really powerful because now instead of just dealing with emails, you can just get into your leads conversion funnel, and you can add tasks to yourself. You can add attachments, reminders. You can leave notes. You can see the activity log also. Like here, you can see it was imported 6 minutes ago from the email integration with a cron task. Once you get your leads, you need to treat them. So that's more related to Perfex. But once again, once you've contacted the person, you're just gonna change it to the contacted portion of your funnel, and that's really going to help you down the line. Because let's say you have some people working with you and you want to go on holidays, they can just pick it up where you left it. That's really handy. Now you can also do that with just with emails and then using Trello boards, and it works great. But here there's one less task that you need to perform. You don't need to go copy and paste the details you got from the email. And if you get a lot of leads, then that's a lot of minutes and hours saved per year. And also it's much more professional because now once you're within the Perfex CRM, you can also grant your customers an access to that platform, and they can see their proposals, they can see invoices, estimates, and so on. So it's much more professional. So that's about it. I hope that you now feel confident and that you're going to use this conversion funnel and that is going to skyrocket your business. Now, if you're interested in purchasing Elementor Pro and or Perfex, you'll find the links in the description of this episode. Now, to be crystal clear, these are affiliate links, which means that I do get a commission if you purchase a license after clicking on my links. But one, I only recommend plugins that I enjoy and would recommend to my inner circle. And two, commissions help me support this channel and create free content. So I hope that you now feel confident to link your Elementor Pro forms to your lead conversions funnel within Perfex CRM. Let me know in the comments, and by the way, you find the companion blog post on my website, Casino.com, and of course, you will find a direct link in the description of this episode. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please like it as it really helps growing this channel. And if you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it now. Now, if you're not yet a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and smash the notification bell so that you don't miss anything. Now, if you want to brand, market, and grow your business in the digital age, then make sure you subscribe to my email newsletter so that you never miss a share of digital alchemy, as well as tips, tools, services, and case studies that can help you grow your business online. So that's it for this episode. I hope to see you around, and in the meantime, don't forget to invest
in your success.